Welcome to Homework Lib.
We want to determine the volume of the remaining material once the hole has been drilled. So think of this as a right prism with a square base, so that's 20 millimeters by 20 millimeters. And so we want to think of this as the volume of the prism, and then we're going to subtract out the volume of the cylinder. So to find the volume of a prism, that's length times, well, I'll say area of the base times height. And the volume of a cylinder is pi times the radius squared times the height. So the area of the base is 20 times 20, or 400. And the height we see is 35. And then we're going to subtract pi times the radius of the circle, would be half of the length of the square base, which would be 10. And the height of the cylinder is also 35. We're going to go to the nearest cubic millimeter. So 400 times 35 minus pi times 10 squared times 35, or 3004 would be to the nearest cubic millimeter. In the next one, we want to find the volume of this prism. The volume of a prism is the area of the base times the height. In this case, the base is the triangle. This is an equilateral triangle. To find the area of its base, it is a triangle. So triangles are 1/2 base times height times the height of the prism. Now let's figure out that the base of that triangle is 10, and the height can be found. One way to do it would be saying, well, that's 5, and we'll use the Pythagorean theorem that 5 squared plus h squared would equal the hypotenuse 10 squared. Again, Pythagorean theorem. So h squared would be equal to 10 squared minus 5 squared, and it would be the square root of that. 10 squared minus 5 squared is 75. So the height is the square root of 75, which, if you wanted to estimate here, is about 8.7. But I'll leave it the square root of 5 just to be as accurate as possible and round just at the end. But we are going to round to the nearest cubic inch. So I think actually it would be pretty safe to say that's 8.7. Okay, so the base of the triangle is 10. The height of the triangle we just found to be 8.7. And now the height of the prism is 30. So that means the volume to the nearest cubic inch, 1/2 times 10 times 8.7 times 30. 1305. That does change quite a bit if you use the square root of 75 instead, so they might want 1299 instead. If you're leaving this as the height of the square root of 75 instead of 8.7, it does change what your final answer would be. So 1299 if you're going to use the square root of 75, 1305 if you're going to use 8.7. Go with what would be normal for your class.